For joining us today. It's the webinar about publishing options in Editorial Manager. It will be presented by myself and my colleague Bharat. Just before we begin the presentation, I would like to just emphasize on a few points. You would have seen a poll open up when you logged in. Kindly complete it before we get started with the presentation. And if you have any questions during the course of the presentation, please do post them in the question and answer tab. We will try to answer as many questions as possible. If it's not possible to answer all questions, we will get back to you later, unless the questions are posted anonymously. And just to inform you, this session will be recorded, and we will also send you a link to the recording later. So let's take a look at what we're going to see in the presentation today. So this is the agenda. We have 5 points which we will discuss. Bharat will take you through the first 4 points: types of journal publishing, introduction to open access, embargo periods, and waiving policy. And I will take you through the last point. I will just show you how publishing options will look before submission and post submission as well, and after acceptance as well. So let's go ahead with the presentation. I give it over to Bharat, who will take you through the first 4 points. Bharat, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Arnold, for the introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, from wherever you're joining. So my name is Bharat Aradila. I'm the Senior Business Development Manager for Open Access. So as Arnold mentioned, I will walk you through a number of things today just to give you an introduction about open access and types of publishing models you can publish with Elsevier. So let's move to the next slide, Arnold. Okay. So we will start with the basics. So that is types of journal publishing. So this is primarily Elsevier offers 2 publishing options. So that's in 2 different types of journals. So that's one is hybrid journals, another one is gold open access journals. So we will look into what open access and subscription and what those terminologies mean in the next slide. So meanwhile, so you can see what a hybrid journal is. So a hybrid journal is a journal that offers open access and subscription options together. So when you're submitting to a hybrid title, it offers both open access and subscription. So basically, as an author, you have a choice to publish either of these publishing models in a hybrid title. So for publishing open access, please note that there will be an article publishing charge which you or your funder or your institution would have to cover. So if there is an open access agreement in place with your institution, so we would show you that agreement as part of the journey. So that is for open access. But then if you decide to publish subscription, so you can publish your article free of charge, and you can also host your article or in a repository after the embargo period for your journal. So we also call this green open access. So we will look into each of these terminologies in detail in the coming slides, but this is just to give you a high-level view that hybrid titles offer both open access and subscription options. And gold open access journals. So that is what you see on the right-hand side of my screen. So it offers only open access option. So there is no subscription. But then if you're submitting to a gold open access journal, you or your funder or an affiliation has to pay the article publishing charge. So you can refer to the journal homepages to understand whether the journal you're submitting to is a hybrid title or an open access title. So let's move forward. Now, So what is open access, right? So that's, Arnold, can you move to the next slide, please? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, the next, yeah, that's one, perfect, yeah. Okay, so what is open access? So that is, as I mentioned in the previous slide, it's free and permanent access to research for everyone. And you would have seen in the last slide as well. So for gold open access, you have to pay an article publishing charge, and you can publish under a Creative Commons user license. And for green open access, that's part of a subscription. So that is only applicable after an embargo period for your journal. So you as an author can host your article in a repository after an embargo period. So it is generally a draft copy. So by draft copy, we mean the first accepted version of the manuscript. So the non-typeset version, so you can host it on your repository after the journal level embargo period. For gold open access, of course, it's instantaneous. So you can make this choice, you can pay an APC, and the article is available to everyone free of charge online. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Now, so we will look at this in detail now. So you would have seen subscription. What does a subscription mean? So to go into detail, you as an author can publish subscription free of charge. So when you're publishing with Elsevier. For cost of publication though, so let's say a reader wants to access your article that's published under subscription. They can do so by paying a small fee to access the article. Or there could be a subscriber to the journal, or it could be an institution, or it could be an individual reader. So they will also have access to the subscription content. And as I mentioned, the peer-reviewed version, the first version of the accepted manuscript, can be made available on a repository after the embargo period. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So now let's look at gold open access in detail. So you have seen in the previous slide as well. So for gold open access publishing, whether it is a hybrid journal or a gold open access journal, there is an applicable cost that's called article publishing charge. And it's available to, so if you decide to publish open access, it's available to everyone from the point of publication. So no one has to pay any access fee to access these articles. So a reader, any random reader, could download your article without paying any charges. So it can be published in fully gold or hybrid titles. And you would have seen hybrid means it contains both open access and subscription. So for gold open access, of course, you always need to select a Creative Commons license that's applicable. And that is something you can do as part of the publishing journey. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Yeah, so this is again coming back in detail about green open access with various different terminologies. So just keep in mind that gold open access means someone has to pay an article publishing charge. Subscription is free of charge for the author. And if you decide to publish subscription, you automatically are eligible for green open access, which is something you can host the early version of your article in a repository after the embargo period of a journal. So we'll look at what an embargo period means and how it differs within Elsevier titles. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so what is an embargo period? So embargo period is the time delay Basically, it could be 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months, 24 months, depending on the journal. If you decide to publish subscription, you need to follow the embargo period to host your article in a repository. So then why do you need a journal embargo? Because it's for delivering value to the subscribed customers before the version of the article becomes freely available to everyone. So as a subscriber, they need to get value out of the subscription. So embargo period begins on the issue publication date. So let's say your article gets accepted, and then within a few weeks' time, it's already citable on Science Direct and other platforms. And from that point in time, so you have to follow the embargo period of the journal, which could vary. And thank you, Anita, for posting the link. So that link will give you a detail. So you can look at your journal, you can type in the journal you have submitted to, or whether you want to submit to, and find out the embargo period. And please note, the embargo period is only applicable for hybrid journals. For gold open access journals, the embargo period is not applicable because you have to pay an article publishing charge, and the article is available from the start as open access on Science Direct or other platforms. All right, let's move to the next slide. Okay, so this is an interesting topic. So we've received some queries from the authors, and we thought it's good to reiterate the waiving policy in gold open access journals. Of course, waiving is only allowed in gold open access journals. In hybrid titles, you always have the option to publish subscription or green open access free of charge. So Elsevier does encourage waiving in certain scenarios and for certain countries. So we want to effectively bridge the digital research divide and ensure that publishing in open access journals is accessible for authors in developing countries. And one of the initiatives Elsevier has taken is about the Research for Life program. So under Research for Life, so we have all the gold open access journals, majority of the gold open access journals participating, and we waive APCs from 69 countries. So that's Group A countries. So we'll also post the link for you to look at the list of countries. And then you have Group B countries, which are eligible for a 50% discount. So depending on the affiliation of your author group, so let's say there are 4 authors coming from Group A countries, then you would be eligible for a waiver. And one of the authors is from Group B, then you would fall under the Group B category. So all of the authors should be affiliated with institutions or countries coming from Group A or Group B countries for you to be eligible for a waiver or a 50% discount. So of course, we also consider waivers on a case-by-case basis. So let's say you are coming from a non-Research for Life country and you cannot afford to pay an article publishing charge in a gold open access title. So all you need to do is contact our researcher support team and demonstrate that you had no research funding, and we will consider individual waiver requests on a case-by-case basis. As I mentioned earlier, the waiving policy does not apply to hybrid journals because, as you saw, there is a subscription option which you can publish free of charge. All right, let's move to the next slide. Yeah, so this is just showing you how Research for Life is offered. So all of this is automated in the publishing journey. And as an author, when you're publishing in a gold open access journal and you qualify for Research for Life, then we would show you the publishing options this way. So we make it clear that you are eligible for Research for Life. And this is from, provided all the authors are from Group A countries, you can see there's a full 100% discount. If you go to the next slide, Arnold, and here, so let's say one of the author is from a Group B country, or all authors are from Group B countries, then you would be eligible for a 50% discount on the article publishing charge. So you can see the list price and then a 50% discount, and total what you have to pay when you're eligible for Research for Life. So the article publishing charge varies a lot between the journals. So Elsevier journals offer APCs, charge APCs rather, starting from $150 to $9,000, depending on the journals. All right, let's go forward. So this is the publishing options journey, and I'll stop here. I'll hand it over to my colleague Arnold to walk you through the rest of the journey. Thank you all. Arnold, over to you.
Thanks, Bharat. So I'm going to take you through the publishing options journey, right from pre-submission to post-acceptance. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how it looks in the journal finder. Now the author reaches the journal finder page and he enters the title of the article that you can see in the next page, and he enters the abstract and keywords. Now, based on the details the author has entered, the next page will show relevant journals or prospective journals in which the author can submit. So he just needs to click on Find Journals. And as you can see on the screen, the author will be able to see journals that are relevant to the title and abstract and keywords that he has entered. And the author has the option to check on the publishing options. So if he clicks on Discover Options, it will show, excuse me, and it shows the personalized publishing options which the author can see. He just needs to click on a particular journal. So once the author chooses a journal, he enters the affiliation, the co-author affiliation, and research funder details. So whichever is available, he just enters those details. Now, based on what the author enters in the system or in the journal finder tool, we see that one by one the author enters the affiliation, and then he'll be able to see the personalized publishing options. So on the screen you will be able to see a text here. I'll just give you a few seconds to go through them. This is regarding the BIPSAM and the agreement between BIPSAM and Elsevier. So just take a few seconds to go through the text. So this is how the publishing options is displayed to the author pre-submission, when the author looks or searches for a prospective journal to submit to, and the publishing options is displayed to him. Now, if after going through the publishing options and the author is satisfied, the author can click on Submit Paper and go ahead and submit his manuscript. Now, publishing options at submission, that is when the author chooses a particular journal and he starts submission, the author will see publishing options. I'm not going to take you through the entire submission process, as you're already aware of it. I'm just going to take you to the last bit where the author enters his institution name, and then if there is a...
Arnold, sorry to interrupt you. It seems the text you're presenting is blurry. So do you mind if I present my screen and then you walk the researchers through the slides?
Sure, Bharat, no problem.
Okay.
1 second.
But I think it's clear for us, maybe particular, I mean, for few, I think it's like that. I'm just answering maybe I'm just asking that particular author to just go out and then log in again, so that will be clear, because I could see the screen very clearly.
Okay.
All right. Shall I go ahead, Bharat, or would you want to share?
Let's go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
I also see another Renault, for example, says it's blur.
Okay. I think it takes some time for the screen to download, and once it's downloaded, it gets clear.
Okay.
All right. So in the last step of submission, the author is asked for his institution name. So the corresponding author enters the affiliation details, and if there is funding information, the author enters the funding information as well. Now, once that is done, the author clicks on Build PDF for approval, which will take him to the next screen, which shows the publishing options page. Now, this is how it will look for a hybrid journal. Again, we clearly indicate that the publishing options, what publishing options are available in a hybrid journal. So the text clearly indicates that, as Bharat already mentioned, in a hybrid journal, both subscription and open access articles are presented, and based on whatever the author enters, the relevant publishing options are displayed. So the author can click on publishing options here, and the next screen will show him what publishing options is available: gold, open access, and subscription. And on the right hand side, we also make it clear as to what the author is liable to pay. And we also have the text here to help the authors if in case they're not able to pay the APC, what steps are required for them to do. So this is how it will look for a hybrid journal. When we go to the next screen, this is just an example in this screen which you're seeing here. This is just an example as to how the publishing options will be presented if there is no agreement between Elsevier and the university. As you can see here, in the previous slide, you could see that the full APC was covered by the agreement between Elsevier and the institution. But here, since there is no agreement, it just shows what the author is liable to pay, and the author has the subscription option also to choose. Now, this is how it looks in a hybrid journal without an agreement. Publishing options after acceptance. Now, once the submission that the author submitted gets accepted, the editor will send an email to the author informing him that the paper has been accepted, and in that email the author will have a link to the author journey, which shows him the publishing options as well. So this is how it will look post acceptance once the submission is accepted in the journal, and the author goes through the post acceptance author journey. So again, we show what the author is liable to pay, and we also have the subscription option for him. So this is how it will look for a hybrid journal post acceptance. Again, another example post acceptance when there is no agreement between the institution and Elsevier. We just show the author what charge or what the APC is for him for the corresponding author when open access is chosen, and again the subscription option is available to the authors as well. So this is how it will look post acceptance for a gold open access journal. Now, as you can see, and as Bharat already mentioned, for gold open access we will have only one option. So the author will choose open access, and this is a discount agreement wherein the agreement between Elsevier and the institution has a 15% discount. So that will be mentioned here, and the remaining excuse me, remaining balance that the author has to pay will be mentioned here as well. So this is how it will look post acceptance for a open access journal. All right, so I think we have reached the end of the presentation. So if you have any questions, please make use of this time to post your questions in the question and answer tab. And just to remind you, once the session is over, before you leave the session, there will be a short survey or short poll that will be posted. We request you to kindly take up that survey as well before you leave the meeting. I think Anita has already posted the poll. Please go ahead and take it up, and please do post your questions in the Q&A session.